Good morning, distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Foreign Service Institute's Mangrove Forum on International Relations. It is an honor to have each and every one of you today as we gather to engage in an enlightening discourse and exchange valuable insights on the Ramon Magsaysay Award. My name is 𝗨𝗱𝗶𝗶, and I will serve as the moderator for today's event. Before we proceed further, I would like to extend our deepest gratitude to our esteemed guests of honor for accepting FSI's invitation to speak on the significant topic chosen for today's Mangrove Forum. This topic derives in part from a book series titled Greatness of Spirit, Stories of Love, Courage, and Service, published by Ramon Magsaysay Foundation in 2023 in commemoration of the 65th anniversary of the award. May I invite our distinguished guest speakers to come up on stage and occupy their places. I'm sorry. Mom, I'm okay, Mom. Before we delve into the rich content we have prepared for you today, I would like to remind everyone to please ensure that mobile devices are switched off or switch to silent mode to minimize disruptions during the session. Okay, without further ado, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce our main speaker for this morning. Madam Cecilia 𝗕ecie𝗨𝗪𝗀 is currently the chairperson of the Ramon Magsaysay Award Foundation. She is the founding president of Probe Productions Incorporated and Probe Media Productions Foundation Incorporated, known for hosting the groundbreaking investigative news magazine show, The Probe Team, which won numerous awards. Transitioning from academia to broadcast journalism, she emerged in the male-dominated media scene during the Marcos regime's final years, gaining respect for her innovative programs such as 5 and Up, 𝗕cie𝗨𝗪𝗀 Presents, Game Plan, and Probe Profiles. She was awarded the 𝗥𝘃𝗿𝗄𝗏 Award, honorary doctorates from Philippine Women's University and Ateneo de Naga University, as well as the Marshall McLuhan Fellowship. 𝗕cie oversees Probe's extensive archival collection and the ongoing media training initiatives of PMFI, with former Probe members continuing to impact media globally. Ladies and gentlemen, let us please welcome Madam Cecilia 𝗕cie𝗨𝗪𝗀.
Thank you very much for that very kind introduction. Foreign Service Institute Director General, Assistant Secretary Francisco Fernandez, Ambassador 𝗨𝘂𝗿𝗏𝗏 del Rosario, a friend that I met many years ago as our special friend when we visited India, His Excellency FM Borhan Uddin, Ambassador of Bangladesh to the Philippines, ladies and gentlemen of the Diplomatic Corps, good morning. It is a distinct privilege for me to be with you today for the Mangrove session. When I first read the invitation letter of the Director General, I wondered about the word mangrove and its significance to today's gathering. I realized that one of the important functions of a mangrove, or bakawan as we know it, is as a protective sanctuary, a nursery for fish before they swim out into the open seas where sea predators and fishermen await them. Today, I hope that this mangrove session adds something that will help you enrich your collection of things you can be proud of as a Filipino when you go forth as the frontliners to the world for our country. The Ramon Magsaysay Award Foundation is one gold nugget we can be proud of. The Ramon Magsaysay Award Foundation was established 65 years ago with a grant from the Rockefeller Brothers Foundation. The Rockefeller brothers were admirers of Ramon Magsaysay, the 7th president of our republic. When the president perished in a plane crash in 1957, they set up the Ramon Magsaysay Award Foundation, or as we call it, 𝗟R𝘂𝗱𝗶, to honor his memory. The fund was earmarked to honor individuals in Asia who have demonstrated what they termed a greatness of spirit. The award aimed to find individuals, not necessarily of high stature in society, and most likely unknown, but whose work has made the world a better place. The phrase, greatness of spirit, has since become the mantra of the foundation, and one that often eludes us because it is difficult to define until you find it. That is why over the last 65 years of its award giving, it has become a distinct honor to be an RM laureate. It is the premier award in Asia coming from the Philippines. Every year, individuals and organizations from all across Asia are nominated and go through a rigorous process of research, background checks, and fact-checking without the nominee ever aware that his work and his name are being considered. The laureates are often taken by surprise when they are told they have been named an RM awardee. Some receive it when their work is just in its infancy. For example, there's the Dalai Lama, who received it in 1959, shortly after he left Tibet to go into exile in India. Mother Teresa was awarded in 1962, barely 10 years after she founded a new order, the Sisters of Charity. After 65 years, we now have 348 laureates from all across Asia in as many disciplines as there are challenges that we face in our region. Many, when told that they have received the RM award, do not know who Ramon Magsaysay is. But that's getting ahead of the story. Let's circle back and let's review and let's ask, who was this guy named Ramon Magsaysay? I'm sure that many of you here, looking at you, were not around when RM was our 7th president. You all look so young. But I was. I first heard about RM, or Ramon Magsaysay, when I was about 11 years old. I heard my dad talking to my mom at the dinner table. My dad had been invited to a breakfast meeting with the president that morning. What stuck to my young, impressionable mind was that my parents' conversation did not focus on the meeting that took place, but rather how impressed my dad was about the simplicity of the man. He said they were served a no-frills breakfast of fish and rice and nothing more. Fast forward to today. I now see the connection of that fish and rice breakfast to the person we know as RM, Monching. He was called the guy, perhaps an English version of today's pare. RM was born in 𝗖𝗲𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗶, Zambales. Born of humble beginnings, Magsaysay took on odd jobs. He worked as a driver to support his studies in engineering. He was employed by a transport firm as an automobile mechanic. He became a shop superintendent and eventually married the daughter of his employer, Luz Banson from Bataan. He became a guerrilla leader and earned accolades for his bravery. He was appointed military governor of his province. He eventually went into politics. Former Senator June Magsaysay, only son of RM, remembers that even the family was shocked when he won the election for president, beating the incumbent President Quirino. When he won, he immediately opened Malacanang to the common tao. There, anyone who wanted to see him or talk to him was welcome. It is said he spent hours just listening to what the common man had to say. He was the people's president. The words common tao are words associated with him up to today. He refused to appoint any relative to any government post, and he prohibited his family from using government vehicles for personal use. Because of his innate humility, Magsaysay refused special treatment and lived within the means provided by his government salary. Magsaysay shunned luxurious houses, and he lived in a simple home and drove his own car. Magsaysay also refused to name towns, bridges, avenues, and plazas after himself. A humble and principled man, Magsaysay hated corruption and nepotism. All of us here hate corruption, but the problem with Ramon Magsaysay is that he did something about it. He led by example. He banned his lawyer brother from accepting cases which involved the government. He also fired several high-ranking military officials of the Philippine Constabulary who were linked to corruption cases. He reformed the military, letting go of officials found to be corrupt. His actions resulted in the military's success in ending the 𝗕ጽ𝗿𝗶𝗶 movement. Luis Taruc, leader of the 𝗕ጽ movement, surrendered to Magsaysay. He had a reputation for being spotlessly honest and dedicated. It was very clear in his mind what belonged to government and what was personal. One story told about him is that he was invited by the Philippine Air Force to ride in a demonstration flight of a new plane. He asked for the operating cost of the flight per hour and then immediately signed the check for the payment. His daughter Mila recalls that they were made to account for what they ate when she had friends over at Malacanang because he would pay for it from his own pocket. Another relative recalls her father telling her that when they visited him in Malacanang, they were not fed. No merienda, not even a glass of wine. As president, Ramon Magsaysay's program was centered on the country's poor. He had wanted their lives improved by the government. He wanted to uplift life in the rural areas, to give access to clean water to the poor, to expand rural credit, and overall to improve agricultural incomes. For the 𝗕ጽ𝗿𝗶𝗶 surrenderies, he gave them land. He instituted the land reform program to distribute large tracts of land to benefit the poor and landless. His own relative on the side of his wife, Luz Banzon, told me just the other day that when RM started his land reform program, the first lands he had reformed were those of his relatives. In his first SONA on January 15, 1954, he said, and I quote, "To guide us in the conduct of public business, we must return to the timeless moral and political principles which we have either forgotten or taken for granted. There is the principle that honesty is the best policy in public as well as in private life." He said further, "In the last few years, there has been a decline of morality. Character building alone, without a solid moral foundation, has been found inadequate in developing a sound citizenry." Finally, Ramon Magsaysay said, "While politics is indispensable for the workings of democracy, it cannot be superior to the interest of the nation." For 5 short years, RM walked his talk. The simplicity and honesty of his words resonated with the common tao, the public he dedicated himself to serve. Upon his death, they found evidence of his dedication to public service. It is said they found a total of 2,000 pesos, or roughly 22,000 pesos today, in his vault, and no house to call his own. His friends pooled resources to build his widow and family a home which they still hold on to this day. You may call it crazy or even comical that the president would leave with so little, and yet his image loomed large. Our 7th president is truly a man we can be proud of as Filipinos. When the RMAF Awards were envisioned, they wanted to honor Asians who embody the virtues that set them apart because of the work they do in our part of the world. I'd like to share with you today 4 stories of the RMAF laureates. The first one is from Nepal. It is the 𝗥ci Samuha, an NGO which is for, by, and of trafficking survivors that we awarded in the year 2013. In Nepal, some 15,000 girls a year are kidnapped and trafficked into sex work, often in neighboring India. 𝗥ci Samuha is a pioneering Nepali NGO dedicated to empowering women rescued from sexual exploitation. In 1992, a young girl aged 14 named Sunita Danuwar became one of them. She recalled waking up in the dark while a woman forced her to put on makeup. It was then when she realized that she had been drugged, kidnapped, and sold to a brothel in Mumbai. Rescued after 4 years in a brothel, she banded with other survivors to found 𝗥ci Samuha, which means Group of Power in Hindi. In 1996, 500 girls and women were rescued from slavery in Indian brothels during widespread police raids. Among these, 128 were Nepalese girls and women. The Nepalese government was reluctant to bring the women back to Nepal, claiming they would bring HIV into the country with them. In the absence of government support, several NGOs took the lead in returning and rehabilitating the girls. Since 2005, about 18,261 people have actively participated in the awareness-raising, interaction, and advocacy activities in Kathmandu Valley and 5 trafficking-prone districts. 𝗥ci Samuha has repatriated 145 trafficked individuals since 2009 and supports the education of 1,514 children. Our second laureate, 𝗟R𝘂𝗿𝗏𝗀𝗀 from the Philippines. The Ramon Magsaysay Award Foundation recognized Bayon for his inspiring determination in leading his fellow fisherfolk to revive a dying fishing industry by creating a sustainable marine environment for this generation and generations to come, and his shining example of how everyday acts of heroism can truly be extraordinary and transformative. With at least 3 generations of fishers in his family, 𝗟R𝘂𝗿𝗏𝗀𝗀, fondly called Kadodoy, has been tied to the seas since he was 13 years old. He saw firsthand the shrinking of catch in Kabasalan that started in the 1990s because of illegal fishing practices like dynamite fishing. One day, Bayon noticed that crabs and other water resources were living in some of the mangroves in their area. This gave him the idea of encouraging his fellow fisherfolk to plant more mangroves. Bayon and his colleagues started planting mangroves every day from 1994 to 1997. He organized the Kapunungan sa Gagmayang Mangingisda sa Concepcion, or KGMC. In just 3 years, they were able to plant 50 hectares of mangroves in their town, an initiative that saved their livelihood and became their safety net. The amount of their fish catch drastically improved from 1.5 kilograms for 8 hours of work fishing to as much as 7 kilograms in just 3 to 5 hours of fishing. His organization's mission in life is to have 3 eats: agahan, hapunan, tanghalian, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. In English, 3 eat, as Bayon told me. If we have 3 eats or 3 meals in a day, we would be content, he says. As the fishermen improved their livelihood, they extended their work to include bantay dagat, setting up a savings bank, setting up a yield program that allows their young children to earn money after school using social media to sell products such as oysters, crabs, and other seafood. They also set up a Trash for Cash initiative. If in the past, trash was everywhere, the program resulted in people becoming obsessed with collecting trash because each sack of trash collected is equivalent to a raffle ticket. In the past, 𝗏𝗠 said, fishermen would tell their children, study hard so that you won't end up becoming a fisherman or a farmer. 𝗏𝗠 said this message is wrong. We should be telling our children, study hard so you can become a professional fisherman or farmer so that someday we have the capacity to export rice and fish. Our third laureate story is that of Tetsu Nakamura from Japan. Tetsu Nakamura is a Japanese national who was made an honorary citizen of Afghanistan. Nakamura described himself as an old-fashioned Japanese man who is too proud to run away from a challenge. As a young man, Nakamura had no particular ideas about Afghanistan. After working as a psychiatrist in Japan, he went to Pakistan to treat leprosy patients in 1984. He planned to return home after a 6-year stint, but the desperate situation there stopped him from leaving. Waves of refugees flowed into Pakistan from Afghanistan, driven out by the Soviet invasion. Refugee camps were plagued by diseases like malaria and tuberculosis. He eventually expanded his activities into Afghanistan, opening clinics in villages without doctors. A major turning point in his life came in the year 2000, when Afghanistan and other parts of Central Asia were struck by drought. Mothers with young children spent days walking to his clinics for help, and many children suffered from dysentery and typhoid fever. Inspired by the words, "Light up your corner of the world," by Buddhist monk 𝗖𝗲𝗄, he devoted much of his life to alleviating the suffering of the people of Afghanistan as well as Pakistan. He concluded that there were limits to what medicine could do for people. He said, "You can't save lives unless there's enough food and water." So he started digging. Nakamura started constructing a 25-kilometer canal under the slogan, "One canal instead of 100 clinics." He added that one irrigation canal will do more good than 100 doctors. He was not a civil engineering expert, and there was no one locally that could help him. He taught himself how to draw plans and then enlisted local farmers to help. Many aid groups left Afghanistan because of the conflict. Nakamura stayed. In spite of the dangers and various setbacks, nothing was going to stop Nakamura from completing his task. And in 2010, that is what he and his team of farmers did. Asked why he went so far as to help the country, Nakamura said, "You can't leave people in serious trouble behind you, can you?" The notorious Gamberi Desert, known as the Valley of Death, as no trees grew there, was transformed into green farmlands by yielding various crops. By 2016, 8 additional canals were added to the 25-mile canal that he built. They restored water in the area, irrigating 16,000 hectares. It helped provide food and water for more than 600,000 residents. Abandoned villages returned to life in what local people called a miracle. 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, the Japanese non-government organization founded by Nakamura that supports aid work in Afghanistan, collects 200 million to 300 million yen in donations annually. Most of the money comes from small donations from individuals. Unfortunately, Nakamura was fatally shot in a targeted killing on the 4th of December in 2019 in Jalalabad, Afghanistan. A state funeral ceremony was held for Nakamura at Karzai International Airport during which the Afghan President Ashraf Ghani joined soldiers to carry the coffin wrapped in the Afghan flag towards the airplane. And the last laureate I wish to tell you a story about is 𝗟R𝘂𝗿𝗍𝗂 from Pakistan, awarded in 2021. Dr. Saqib is the founder and chairman of 𝗥𝘬𝗿𝗄𝗏, the world's largest Islamic microfinance program and fee-free college university open to talent from all across Pakistan. His story began more than 20 years ago when a widow asked Pakistani social entrepreneur 𝗟R𝘂𝗿𝗍𝗂 to lend her $100. The woman promised to pay him back the same amount in a couple of months. And she did. Saqib got back his $100. When asked why he trusted her word, he said, "Why should I assume that somebody on the street is lying to me unless he proves that?" It's a kind of a reformative movement that we want to rekindle, the spirit of hope and trust. Islamic law prohibits interest on loans, but it's not just this religious directive that has shaped Saqib's thinking about microfinancing as a way to lift families out of poverty. His newfound sister that day left his office with a heavy load lifted off her chest because securing the loan, which she vowed to pay in 6 months, allowed her to buy 2 sewing machines with the money, and it earned her enough to send her children to school and to banish hunger from her household. 𝗥𝘬𝗿𝗏 operates based on the Islamic tenet of mawakhat. Simply put, Saqib explains, it was like having a loaf of bread, but with the willingness to give half of it to another rightful owner, a person who has none. 𝗥𝘬𝗿's offer of interest-free microcredit to the poor made it the first of its kind in Pakistan. Since its foundation in 2001, it has disbursed 140 billion Pakistani rupees, around $900 million, in loans to 4.8 million beneficiaries with a 99.9% repayment rate. While he was awarded for microfinance, we saw another side to him. On our recent visit to Pakistan with my colleagues from 𝗟R𝘂𝗃 who are seated here, we were brought to Fountain House, another project of 𝗥𝘬𝗿𝗏 for mentally challenged individuals and transgenders who have been marginalized by society. At the end of our visit, which was a quickly timed, almost hectic rush through the many areas of the place, a patient whom they refer to as members, not patients, approached Dr. Saqib to ask if he could sing for us. Dr. Saqib agreed, and he stood beside him as we listened to the man sing his song. After his song, Dr. Saqib turned to the man, lifted his arms, and embraced him. At that moment, I saw greatness of spirit, and I understood what it meant. It is an intangible we find only when we see it. The stories I've shared are only 4 of the 348 who have been recognized by the 𝗟R𝘂𝗃 across Asia. Their work inspires, gives us hope, and assures us that the basic instinct of mankind to do good for his fellow man is alive. Like Magsaysay, the man who inspired the establishment of this award. The laureates exemplify the greatness of spirit that this award honors. I'd like to thank you most kindly for giving us at the Ramon Magsaysay Award Foundation the opportunity to share the greatness of spirit story. We hope that you too will take pride in what 𝗟RMAPH means for Philippine democracy. On behalf of my colleagues, maraming salamat at magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat.
Thank you very much, Madam 𝗕ecie𝗍𝗍 for that comprehensive presentation. That was incredibly informative and thought-provoking for us, and certainly inspiring, and gave us hope for the future. Thank you very much, Madam 𝗕ecie𝗍𝗍, for that. The Foreign Service Institute recognizes the untapped potential of this pool of remarkable people, and they can possibly help us both directly and indirectly achieve common foreign policy goals that benefit the region, the Asian region, and of course, the wider world. And because of that, we have invited two distinguished speakers to talk about harnessing the Ramon Magsaysay awardees in pursuit of common foreign policy goals that benefit humankind. First off, I would like to introduce His Excellency 𝗕ป์𝗿𝗀𝗀𝗀, Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of the Embassy of Bangladesh in the Philippines. Ambassador Udin is a career diplomat since 1995 and has held various international posts, including in Egypt, Vice Consul in Dubai, First Secretary in Seoul, and Consular Minister in Colombo. He also served as Consul General in Istanbul and Jeddah. He has also held numerous positions within the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, including being the Director General of several offices. Ambassador Udin holds degrees in sociology from the University of Dhaka and law from the University of London. He has been the ambassador of Bangladesh to the Philippines since November 2021. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Ambassador 𝗕ป์𝗿𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀.
Thank you, Madam Moderator, for saying good words about me. Madam Cecilia L. Lazaro, Chairperson of the Ramon Magsaysay Foundation, Ambassador 𝗨𝗂𝗿𝗍𝗍, President of Miriam College, Director General Francisco Noel R. Fernandez, Foreign Service Institute, Excellency Ambassador of Pakistan, members of diplomatic corps and international organizations, young officers of the Department of Foreign Affairs, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, Magandan Umaga and Shubho Shakal. At the outset, I extend my sincere thanks and gratitude to the Foreign Service Institute for organizing such a thoughtful program. I thank the Ramon Magsaysay Award Foundation for co-hosting the celebration of the greatness of spirit today. I extend my sincere thanks to my dear friend, Assistant Secretary Fernandez Francisco, to allow me to say a few words to this august gathering. I also congratulate the Mangrove Forum for creating such a wonderful platform for sharing issues of multilateral interests. Ladies and gentlemen, the term greatness of spirit is such an interesting concept as it taps our virtues and morality as a human being. Today, we celebrate the greatness of spirit, but what does it mean to have such greatness of spirit? And how do we know if someone or something has such a spirit? My topic is harnessing the Ramon Magsaysay awardees in pursuit of foreign policy. Before I switch into my topic, let me talk a little about greatness of spirit. In Islam, humility has always been one of the greatest characteristics one must possess. It serves as the recognition of every individual to our indebtedness to God. Hence, greatness of spirit is used to measure the strength of our will to engage in a moral pursuit. It is therefore concerned with what we owe to each other, making our spirits great come from our selflessness and not from the honor we gain out of it. It is my firm conviction that their selflessness and greatness of spirit propelled the Ramon Magsaysay awardees to their achievements, particularly my fellow Bangladeshis. It became a motivation not by the recognition or honor that comes with helping others, but by their sincere commitment to serving their country and assisting their fellow citizens, driven by their collective national experience. Distinguished guests, let me now correlate the greatness of spirit with the independence war of Bangladesh in 1971. Bangladesh is renowned for its rich culture and beautiful nature. Nonetheless, it is its history that truly shapes the nation. From its time as a colony to enduring the horrors of genocide, Bangladesh has endured some of the most unimaginable suffering known to humanity. And because of this pain and suffering, Bangladeshis continue to strive for a better tomorrow. The country is no stranger to selfless service and transformative leadership. Bangladesh, Bangabandhu 𝗥𝗍𝗿𝗀𝗀𝗀's role in the nation's independence encapsulates the greatness of spirit of every Bangladeshi, guided by his Islamic principles and the collective struggle of Bangladesh people. Bangabandhu did not need to be acknowledged as the father of the nation, rather did it out of his sincere desire to help the nation achieve independence. His tenacity, alongside the ongoing struggle of the people, inspired more Bangladeshis to continue the fight for development, justice, and freedom. Consequently, patriotism became an intrinsic trait for Bangladeshis, which manifests in the number of recipients of the prestigious award. Dear colleagues, recognition of good works by the states or organizations remains inspiration for the next generation. To that end, awards are declared worldwide in the name of great man or organization or significant days. We can refer to the famous international awards in the name of scientist Nobel, Giulio Curie, and Ramon Magsaysay. One more international award is going to join this club. I am proud to share with you today that Bangladesh has recently declared the first ever International Peace Award in the name of Bangabandhu 𝗥𝗍𝗍𝗀𝗀𝗀, the father of the nation of Bangladesh. Under his undisputed leadership, Bangladesh achieved its independence in 1971. The first conferment of the award will take place in 2025. The award includes prize money of $100,000 and 50-gram gold medal of 18 carats. I take this opportunity to share with you some significant national awards of Bangladesh. Among all, Bangla Academy Literary Award, 𝗥𝗍𝗍𝗶𝗍, Independence Award, and International Mother Language Award are remarkably prominent. Bangla Academy Literary Award, initiated in 1960, is one of the most prestigious honors for literary excellence in Bangladesh, celebrating outstanding contributions to Bengali literature. The award is given in three distinctive fields, which include poetry, research, and translation. 𝗥𝗍𝗍𝗶 was established in 1976, which is one of the highest civilian honors in Bangladesh. The award commemorates the language movement of 1952. This prestigious award is bestowed upon individuals who have made significant contributions to various fields such as literature, music, journalism, drama, sculpture, and social services. The Independence Award is the highest civilian award in Bangladesh, which was instituted in 1977. This distinguished award recognizes the sacrifices and efforts of those who played pivotal roles in Bangladesh's liberation struggle in 1971. This award is rewarded to individuals from various fields, including politics, literature, journalism, science, arts, and social welfare. The International Mother Language Award is a recognition bestowed upon individuals or organizations who have made exceptional contributions to the promotion and preservation of linguistic diversity and mother languages worldwide. It was established to commemorate the language movement of 1952 in Bangladesh. Dear audience, the Ramon Magsaysay Award serves as an investment in outstanding individuals that sheds light on their work and encourages them and others to do more in pursuit of the common good and societal progress of both their home countries and the world. All the 13 Bangladeshi recipients of Ramon Magsaysay Awards have made significant impacts in their own ways. The time will not permit me to highlight on all of their contributions. However, I will focus on the contributions of some of the Bangladeshi awardees. 𝗟R𝘂𝗱𝗶𝗶𝗶, a recipient of Ramon Magsaysay Award in 1980, is the founder of Bangladesh Rural Advancement Committee, in short, BRAC, a non-governmental organization that helped improve the lives of Bangladeshis in the country's rural areas by rebuilding houses, finding food, raising gardens, and training and supplying paramedics to treat the most prevalent diseases. The organization's success aided hundreds of villages in Bangladesh. The award's contribution to BRAC immensely helped the organization to reach more communities outside Bangladesh, making it an official international development organization that helps communities across Asia and Africa, namely Ghana, Kenya, Sierra Leone, the Philippines, Myanmar, etc., in hopes of realizing full human potential. Dr. 𝗕rdowsi Kadri, a Bangladeshi scientist, is another recipient of the award, honored for her outstanding contributions to infectious disease control, immunology, vaccine development, and clinical trials. She has been instrumental in discovering vaccines for diseases such as cholera and typhoid that saved millions of lives. Furthermore, her achievements as a woman in science have broken more barriers for women working in male-dominated fields, promoting gender equality and eradicating stereotypes and double standards against women. The recognition from the Ramon Magsaysay Award Foundation has enabled her to serve as a role model for girls worldwide and continue her contributions to vaccinology. During the COVID-19 outbreak, she focused on advocating for vaccination against the virus and used her experience as a scientist to study COVID-19 and develop vaccines despite not being a respiratory infection expert. In her belief, that was the time she needed to serve the country the most, and she did so alongside her team. Last but not the least, 𝗟R𝘂𝗿𝗀𝗀𝗀, the latest recipient of the award, was recognized for his unwavering dedication to education and social changes. As the founder of Jago Foundation, 𝗟R𝘂𝗿𝗀𝗀𝗀 established schools for underprivileged children. 𝗟R𝘂𝗿 initially started teaching alone for the foundation. Currently, the number of teachers has grown to over 500 and is supported by a volunteer pool of 50,000 and over 600 employees, now focusing on education, youth, women, climate change, and governance. The foundation continues to work on its next goals, creating more NGOs by beginning with a program for young change makers. Ladies and gentlemen, President Ramon del Fierro Magsaysay is the 7th president of Philippines, who was in power from 1953 to 1957. During his administration, he became the embodiment of good governance and transformative leadership, making him one of the most outstanding global leaders of all time. Following the ideology of President Ramon Magsaysay, the country can leverage the Magsaysay Award to project Philippines' leadership in the Asian region to increase the Philippines' soft power. The Ramon Magsaysay Award Foundation was established to uphold the legacy of integrity in leadership, fearless dedication to public service, and practical idealism within the framework of a democratic society. As demonstrated by former Philippine President Ramon Magsaysay, the Ramon Magsaysay Award Foundation recognizes persons and organizations in Asia that exemplify transformative leadership and greatness of spirit across the border. The Ramon Magsaysay Award is considered Asia's premier prize and the highest honor. The Ramon Magsaysay Award is believed to be the Nobel Prize of Asia. This prestigious award recognizes exceptional contributions of individuals in various fields, from public service to social innovation, and impacts the lives of Asians. For more than 6 decades, the Ramon Magsaysay awardees have demonstrated how ordinary men and women can transform the lives of people affected by the complex social and environmental problems. The Magsaysay laureates are sharing their solutions to solve these problems through expanded public awareness, instructive dialogue, creative collaboration and replication, and finally, through the development of youthful, transformative leaders of Asia's future. I firmly believe that regular contact with the Magsaysay laureates and obtain their views on sectoral issues may bring great benefits for the people of the Philippines in particular and the Asian people in general. To that end, an alumni of Ramon laureates may be formed and periodic meeting of the alumni may be convened. Thematic discussion may take place. Recommendations made by the Magsaysay laureates may be incorporated into the foreign policy review. Ladies and gentlemen, sharing good practices at bilateral and multilateral forum is a part of diplomacy. The Magsaysay awardees are contributing to different spheres of the society. Bangladeshi awardees are recognized by the Ramon Magsaysay Award Foundation for their outstanding works for the society. Their development model can be suitably replicated in different parts of the world. Depending on their fields of interest, I would like to suggest some areas where we can replicate their models globally. The areas are soft diplomacy, cultural diplomacy, humanitarian diplomacy, public diplomacy, protection of democracy, promotion of good governance, environmental diplomacy, promoting inclusion and participation, economic diplomacy, supporting refugee and migration, and gender mainstreaming. In conclusion, I would like to emphasize the importance of the Ramon Magsaysay Foundation for recognizing my fellow countrymen's patriotism and willingness to be the change for a better future for my country. Their greatness of spirit has enabled them to achieve their goals of community building and societal development. And the award became a stepping stone for these individuals to further their own cause, expanding to Asia and the world. Through the award, Bangladesh acknowledges the unwavering support of the Philippines to our nation's continuous development. We also recognize this as an opportunity to deepen the relationship between the two nations through sharing the achievements of the Bangladeshi recipients, transpiring to mutually beneficial relationships for both nations and to the world. Having said that, Bangladesh is greatly aware of the Philippines' contribution and potential role to promote the nation's cause and is hopeful in the future wherein Bangladesh further extends its acts of service to the Filipino people. Together, let us build a better place for the next generation to come, where we celebrate the greatness of spirit of not just a chosen few, but of every individual in the world. Dhonnobad and Mabuhay Tayong Lahat. Thank you all for your patient hearing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Udin, for providing us with valuable insights that we can take with us beyond this forum. Your contribution has been instrumental in enriching our understanding of greatness of spirit as seen from the perspective of Islam and the nation of Bangladesh. We congratulate Bangladesh for having numerous Ramon Magsaysay awardees. These people embody the greatness of spirit being promoted here today. Thank you very much for that. We have also invited another distinguished speaker to talk about harnessing the Ramon Magsaysay awardees. This time, she is not a stranger to us. Ambassador 𝗟R𝘂𝗵𝗿𝗀𝗀𝗍 is currently the president of Miriam College, and she has significantly influenced the college's academic programs across the 3 campuses of Miriam College. She has a distinguished 37-year career in the Philippine Foreign Service, and she served as Director General of the Foreign Service Institute, and later as Undersecretary of the Department of Foreign Affairs. Her diplomatic achievements have earned her the 𝗥𝗍𝗶𝗋𝗀𝗋 Presidential Award and the 𝗥𝗍𝗃𝗀𝗋 Presidential Award. She has held various diplomatic posts in Vienna, Singapore, and Washington, D.C., and also as ambassador to India and Vietnam. And upon retirement, she received the Presidential Medal of Merit. Ladies and gentlemen, let us all welcome Ambassador 𝗟R𝘂𝗵𝗿𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗍.
Thank you very much, Fe. It's so nice to be home again. I won't stand because I don't have anything to read. As everybody knows me, I always wing things. You know, I go extemporaneous, and then I just talk wherever my mind leads me. I was surprised that I was asked to talk about the Ramon Magsaysay Awards and how they can be harnessed for foreign relations. It's I don't know whether you assume that I use the Ramon Magsaysay Awards. Did you know? No. Okay, I use them. Because you see, my first ambassadorial post was in India. And at that time, I was a new ambassador, newly minted chief of mission, and I was waiting for my foreign assignment. But you see, I think most chiefs of mission would rather go to places that are very convenient, right? In fact, I call some posts as perfume postings. These are the capitals that you find behind a perfume bottle, right? Milan, Paris, London, even Tokyo, right? So I said, I won't go to those posts. I said, because for one thing, they're competitive. I have a friend who was assigned in Athens at that time, and a political appointee got interested in Athens. So she was shunted aside and pushed over to one developing country in Southeast Asia. So I said, I wouldn't want to do that. I said, if I am going to a post, I don't want somebody to be watching over me just to find out how they can move me out just so they could take over. But at the same time also, as a young girl, I have always been interested in India because of their literature. And I enjoyed, you might laugh, I enjoyed reading Bhagavad Gita, Mahabharata, yeah, all those thick epics, including Shakuntala, all the works of Rabindranath Tagore. So I went to Undersecretary for Administration, Franklin Ebdalin. So I said, "Sir," I said, "will you please assign me to India?" And he said, "Lula, you must be dreaming. You see," he said, "India is a senior post." So I asked him, "What do you mean?" "You have to have served in another post before you'll be assigned to India." "Oh, I see." I said, "Okay," I said, "you look for somebody who would want to go to India. If after 6 months nobody wants to go to India, you assign me." And true enough, nobody wanted to go to India for various reasons. The food is very spicy, it's very crowded, it's very dusty, it's very hot. So he said, "Okay, Lula, go there." So I went and packed, excitedly. And then, of course, when I arrived there, it's true, all the ambassadors were old, meaning India, Delhi was their second or third posting, and there I was, the youngest of all, youngest not only in experience, but also in age. And the fact that I was a woman, I really stood out. So everybody called me the girl Benjamin, the 12 tribes, the youngest was Benjamin. And I didn't know how to handle it because in India, at that time, there were 128 embassies. So how do you compete with 128 embassies? And India was focused on the countries near it, like Myanmar, because of security reasons and also because of what we call the connectivity issue. And then, of course, it was a Commonwealth country, so all the Commonwealth countries had priority. So nobody paid attention to me, except one ambassador, the ambassador of Russia. It so happened that he was the head of KGB before he was assigned to Russia. So I was very happy. At least I said, wow, I met a real KGB guy. So I started engaging him in every reception that I saw him. I would always look for him because every time I wanted to, because he was my way of finding out more about India. The embassy is so small and India is so big. It's almost 1/2 of the United States. And before I could go to every province to see what was happening, I would be spending a lot of money on airfare. But talking to the head of KGB of Russia, that gave me a lot. So I saved a lot of money this way. So for every reception, I would engage him for at least an hour before he could go to other ambassadors. And then at the same time, I started to think, I said, how can I make my posting worth it? So I thought of two things. One, economic diplomacy, because everybody knows that's really my forte, running after business. In fact, it was at that time when we were trying to build our BPO. And so I pursued every IT engineering business in India. I even met the father of the wife of the Prime Minister of England, Rishi Sunak. Yeah. And his wife, is the daughter of the owner of Infosys. That's why the joke is the Prime Minister the Prime Minister and his wife, they are richer than the royal family. And maybe it's true because Infosys is so huge, it also has a branch in the Philippines. Okay, so that's one. I ran after Infosys, Wipro, Tata Consultancies, name them. I've been there. I went to Bangalore, I went to Ahmedabad, and all those cities around India. Because India is so big, I would always fly. So every week I was out of the capital. And then I said, but how can I reach the people of India? So I thought of the Ramon Magsaysay awardees, because I know that the Indians, they're the biggest number, no?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, every year there is at least one or two.
Yes.
So I said, let me look for this, okay, for them. And the first one that I tried to look for was the father of the Green Revolution. Because you see, India suffered a lot of food shortages, even during the time of the British colonial rule. During the time of Churchill, in fact, I read somewhere that Churchill allowed more than 1 million Indians to die because they could not provide for the food. And at the same time, I think they gave priority to the British citizens living in India at that time. So, true enough, M.S. Swaminathan explained to me how he was able to conquer, rice production. India doesn't have enough water, and so he tried to look for a species that would grow short so that they won't need a lot of water. So I think that kind of rice was only about 6 inches tall or high. because in the Philippines, our rice stalks are tall, isn't it? So this variety was meant only for India, while in Bangladesh, because it was always flooding, he tried to look for a variety that was taller than the variety in the Philippines, so that when Bangladesh would flood, the rice stalks wouldn't fall in the water. So it was the long and short of rice, right? So I would always go to him every time I would go to this part of the world and would talk about food production and all that. And then the second Ramon Magsaysay awardee that I looked for was the father of the White Revolution. So what is the White Revolution? It was the production of milk in India. If you notice, all Indians have great teeth, isn't it? You just have to look at any news. In fact, I'm sorry to admit it, every time there are news coverages on the Philippines, every time there is a flood or a typhoon, and they would interview people in the urban areas or in the informal settlers areas, people would always comment to me, Laura, why is it your people don't have teeth? It's true, isn't it? Most of the people being interviewed, they lack teeth. They're bungi, so to speak. While in India, no matter how poor they are or they were, they always had a full set of teeth. And it's because of the milk that they drank every day. So the dream of 𝗥ecie𝗀𝗶𝗶 was to be able to provide a cow for every poor family. Because in his mind, if they are hungry, they would at least have milk early in the morning. And if you think about warm milk, the milk of an Indian boy or girl in the morning is truly warm because they get it straight from the cow's teeth, right? So, but at the same time, he knew that giving milk to the families was not enough. So he organized a dairy cooperative. So all the extra milk would be gathered in a particular steel container, and they would go to a collecting area, and those gallons of milk would be processed to produce yogurt, butter, cheese, and of course, ice cream. And to me, because I have an averse to ice cream, maybe it's because I grew up near Clark, and all I did during my youth was eat American ice cream. So there was a time when I avoided eating ice cream. I'm not kidding, for 20 years. So the only time I returned to eating ice cream was when I was in India, because their ice cream is really creamy, because it's really cow's milk, right? You try our ice cream, melt it, it's hardly there. But the Indian ice cream, you melt it, it melts into milk. So in a way, I knew that I was getting the best ice cream in the world. And when I went to the US for my next assignment, or I came from the US, by the way, by that time, I knew that it was better than Haagen-Dazs. And yeah, I'm not kidding, and Baskin-Robbins. So after all of this, I thought, okay, I'm meeting all of these Ramon Magsaysay awardees. How can I project the Philippines? So I started inviting them for dinner. And it was very easy because they love the Philippines. They have a special affinity for our country because they know that they have been honored by this award for which we are known for. But to me, even if I was doing that, it was very personal. But I thought I would want to make it big in the eyes of the Indian society. Unfortunately, this is already a criticism of the foreign service system. We don't have enough money, you see, to host all those big receptions. And so maybe those of you who are assigned to Southeast Asia, Northeast Asia, and South Asia, what you can do, I learned it later on, it was too late, when I realized I should really honor them during our National Day reception. Instead, I focused on the small dinners. And it's so hard to gather them because they come from all over India, until I realized that some of them would really travel just to come to my dinners. And some of them really, they sacrificed their time and their money, until I said, oh my God, I think this is going to be a very, complicated arrangement. So I thought, why don't I host it, have what we call a movable feast, a la Hemingway. So host it in Mumbai. So invite all those who live near Mumbai, yeah, and then host it in another part of India so that you can gather them there. But it's almost like it's a logistical problem, yeah, because I have to find out where are all these awardees living, and then whom can I invite for this particular thing, and at the same time, this hosting was not getting any coverage by the media because I wanted really to project the Philippines as really the soft power of the Philippines. Yeah. So maybe this is what we can really, think about, no? Since we are here at the FSI, how can we project the Philippines soft power through the Ramon Magsaysay Awards? And I know that the awardees really exemplified the best in mankind. And really, right now, since democracy is retrogressing, as they say, there is, what they call that? What's the other word for retrogression? There's a deficiency in democracy all over the world because now it's the strongman rule that's really gaining ground, even in the United States. So I think it's really time that really we recapitalize on the Ramon Magsaysay Awards to really counteract this narrative that to develop, you have to have a strong man. Perhaps what we can say, to develop, you must have leaders who have the heart to lead and who care about their common man. So that's all I can contribute right now about Ramon Magsaysay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ambassador 𝗨𝘂𝗵𝗶𝗹𝗶. Ma'am Lula, thank you very much for that presentation. Indeed, we're yet inspired again, and we can look forward to the insights gained here today, and we accept the challenge because you have provided us some best practices on how to harness these remarkable.
Or experimental practices. yeah.
Unfortunately, our time for this topic is coming to a close. I want to thank each and every one of you for your thoughtful contributions and active participation. Thank you very much to our honored guests. At this point, I would like to invite the Director General of the Foreign Service Institute to present our guest speakers with their certificates and tokens of appreciation.